this video, we'll discuss about the classical psychoanalytical theory or the psychosexual theory. So, as I mentioned it earlier, it was given by Sigmund Freud in 1905. It is basically based on the free association principle, free association principle, according to which Freud believes that everyone should say everything that comes to his or her mind, irrespective of how trivial or embarrassing it might be. So this basically advocates that there are two types of neurons, the first one being the phi neuron and the second one being the psi neuron. Now, phi neuron is mainly responsible for the condition of emotions, and psi neuron is associated with the storage of emotions. Now, in this, what happens is emotions they reach to a certain level. Discharge is sparked off, which leads to an over display of emotions, which we call as archaic discharge. All right. Now, he basically compared the human brain to an iceberg. So, suppose this is the iceberg. All right. This is the water level. All right. Now, what is above is basically conscious. It is a small part which is above the water level, and what is below is unconscious. Okay. Now the which is a small part. It is basically aware of a particular movement as it is conscious, aware of particular movement. But whereas unconscious, it is related to the impulse, passion, incredible moments, desire of food, love, person, or sex. Now this level is the pre-conscious level. All right. Now what happens is we can further divide it into this conscious part is ego, the unconscious part is id, and this whole is superego. We will discuss about it further as we move on to the video. Now, this is basically a comparison of the human brain to an iceberg, okay, according to Sigmund Freud. Now, coming on to the psychic triad. Now, in this, Sigmund Freud gave a tripartite structure model of id, ego, superego, hypothesized these three structures in this theory to understand the intra-psychic process. All right. Now in this, we will draw the diagram. It is similar to this only. There is a circle. All right. Then we have the bar of consciousness and unconsciousness. This is superego, which has both, right? Conscious may ego and unconscious may id. All right. Now, what we see is this is a very important line to remember and to mention. Freud believed in the notion that behavior is influenced by three things: biological needs, social needs, and mediating thought process. This is id, this is superego, and this is ego. All right, this is very important to mention. Now coming on to the what are these all things. Id, now id is the most primitive part of personality. Now it is basically the reservoir of instincts. It is present since birth as impulse, the basic crux of it. It strives for immediate pleasure and gratification, inability to modify drive. All right. Now coming on to an example. Now, if a young one wants to eat, then the eating impulse is based on the impulse irrespective of the external circumstances. All right. Now, coming on to the superego. Now, superego, it is basically an internalized representation of values and morals of society taught by parents and others. All right. Now it is essentially it is basically an individual's conscience. Now its example is that before doing an action, an individual will see whether it is correct or not. Now coming on to ego. Now this is very important, a little bit confusing. Now this is the part which is concerned with the overall functioning and organization of personality through its capacity to test reality and utilization of ego defense mechanisms, which we will discuss further, and other functions like memory, language. Now, this is basically an adequate, what we can see is there can be an adequate expression of id in constraints of reality and demands and restriction of superego. Now, a basic example of this is suppose a child is hungry, so if it is the food is not available, so the hunger must wait. Okay. Now, what we see is Freud also believed that the ego it can substitute the reality principle for pleasure principle. Now, suppose we have someone's brain. You can draw this diagram if you want. So this is the brain. Now, suppose we have three people here, and this is okay. Starting from this one, it says that I want it now. This person says I must do planning to get it. And this says, I cannot have it because it's not right. Alright. Now, if I ask you, we can classify this as immediate gratification. I must do planning as superego. Uh, no, as ego. And right and wrong may superego. Okay, the person's conscience, right? Now, let's come on to the stages. Now, Freud believed that what we do, how we do, who we are, how we behave, or how we act this way is all related to our sexual drive differences originating from childhood. Now, Sigmund Freud basically gave five stages. Okay, coming on to the first one, which is oral. Then we have the anal. Then we have the uh, urethral. Then we have the phallic. Then we have the latency, and then we have the genital. All right. Now, oral stage is from 0 to 1.5 years. Anal is from 1.5 to 3 years. Urethral is from 3 to 5 years. And the phallic, 3 to 4 years. Phallic is from 4 to 5 years. Then the latency stage, it is from the puberty till puberty. And this is from puberty onwards. All right. Now, let's discuss one by one. I won't be writing all of it, but I will be explaining. So, in oral stage, in this, what happens is Freud gave us some erogenous zones. Okay, now in the oral, it as we come from the name, as we can take it from the name as well, erogenous zone or organ will be mouth. Okay, the child, he derives pleasure from nursing, eating, biting, swallowing, and to infants, mother's breast as well. So basically, child's personality during this stage is controlled by it. Now, what happens is if we give insufficient or we give forcible breastfeeding, then it will lead to fixation. Now, fixation may, what we will see is the symptoms of fixation are nail biting. This is important. Nail biting, smoking, drinking, and sarcasm. Now, in this anal, we come to know it is anus, the erogenous zone. Over here, the child derives pleasure from the bowel movements, expulsion, and retention. Now, here, what we see is there are two types of individuals. One is two types of personalities. One is the anal expulsive personality, and the another one is the anal retentive. Now, in expulsive, what we see is the parents, they are unsuccessful in instilling into the child the society roles. Now, due to this, what happens is the child, he feels, he gets pleasure from expulsion. So if the individual becomes fixated, then he will become sloppy, disorganized, defiant, and careless. In retentive, what we see is the parents are successful in giving the child the instill to follow the society rules, but the parents, they are excessively pressuring the child, and they are even punishing it, due to which the child retents, and he develops an anxiety during the bowel movement and is basically retentive. So in this, what we will see is the child comes out to be very clean and an organized person if it gets fixated. Also, we will see that he is intolerant to those who are disorganized, intolerant to disorganized people. Now, coming on to the urethral. In urethral, it is basically a transitional stage from the anal to the phallic. Now, in this, what we see is there the child derives a pleasure from urination. Okay. Now it is similar because there is pleasure from, it is similar to anal because either it is urethral retention or it is urination. So basically, the most predominant trait is the competitive and ambition stage. All right. In phallic stage, what we see is basically genitals. They are the erogenous zones, and the child is usually seen to be fondling them. It is the most challenging stage. In this, what we see is the child starts developing feelings or preferences for the parent of the different sex. Now in this there are two complexes. One is the oedipus complex, and the second one is the electra complex, which is occurring in the girls complex girls. Okay, and this is in boys. In this, what we see is the boy, he starts developing feelings for the mother and he fears the dad. Anxiety, castration due to castration also resolves the feelings. He feels that his father will harm him or so. In this electra complex, what we see is the girl starts infatuating about her father, and we see that there is uh, a feeling of hate towards her mother. All right, but it later on resolves. So this is the electra complex and the oedipus complex, which occurs during the phallic stage. All right, now coming on to the latency stage. Now, in latency stage, the sexual feelings which occurred in the phallic stage, they are resolved. Okay. We see that the child, he starts adjusting to the social environment. He plays sports. Also, he has same-sex friendships. Also, he is more concerned about gaining knowledge and skills. Now, in the genital stage, what we see is the erogenous organ is the genitals. The basic is that we see there is a development of heterosexual relationships. Also, if the main purpose is sexual interest, desire, and pursuit of relationships, if we see the fixation on this stage, we will see that the person, he gets attracted to the opposite sex, which causes a source of anxiety which has not been resolved in the oral and the phallic stage. So this gives an end to the psychosexual theory, which was given by Sigmund Freud. However, we will see that there are certain limitations of this theory. The first one being that it is very subjective, it is unscientific, it is biased, and it rejects the free will. It is difficult to prove wrong, and it is too little deterministic. All right. So this completes the psychosexual theory. I hope you understood. Thanks for watching.